And the way I do that, one of the main ways I do it, is I wrist lock the crap out of them. Every time they touch me, I try to wrist lock them. And so I'm going to show you a bunch of wrist locks tonight. And what it does is either I submit them with a wrist lock, or I make them so paranoid not to touch me that I end up getting a sweep or getting some other type of submission on them, because I keep them in a state of being uncomfortable putting their hands on me, no matter where they put their hands on me. And the nice thing about the wrist lock is the wrist is such a weak muscle. Even if it's like a big, strong person, their wrist is not that strong. And so like if you can get a bend in that wrist, it's really easy to like just overpower it and get the submission. Even like if you're a small person and you know you could be sparring with like a 300-pound muscle-bound person, if you can get a bend in their wrist, you would be able to overpower that wrist and get your submission. So let me borrow David. So I apologize to your wrist in advance. I don't have any police officers in here tonight, so they won't hinder their ticket writing. So the first one we're going to look at is years ago when I was a white belt, I entered a tournament, and this guy, he hit like a double leg. He took me down, he ended up in my closed guard, and then he put both his hands on my biceps, and he just held me and just stalled. And you're like, he was a pretty strong guy, he just kept his head down. I couldn't get my hands in his collar, and I couldn't get any kind of real attack because he was holding me. And the key is I'm looking for the biceps, because if he had his hands on my shoulders, I could easily just get my hands and choke him. So the shoulders wouldn't be a problem. It's when he holds the biceps, now I can't get my hands on him to launch my attacks. So that was really frustrating for me. So what I'm going to do is this, you can pick which side you want, doesn't matter. I'm going to lock. So I bring this arm in and I lock his hand. And then I take my elbow and I bring it to my side here. So no problem yet. And if you want, you can grab your lapel if that feels stronger for you. And then I'm going to move to my left hip. And he's going to tap. So either hand, I lock, bring it in. Very important to bring it in. If you try this while it's out here, not going to happen. I got to lock and crunch that hand in. Like I said, you can grab your lapel if it feels stronger for you. And then all I do is just, I don't move my arm, I just move to my right hip, keeping that arm tight, and I get my submission. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Alan, can I borrow you, my friend? So he grabs my biceps, and like, man, like especially like a big, strong guy, like he could really pin you down here and just not allow me to get my hand in his collar. That can be incredibly frustrating. It's almost like they can hold you. Well, that's literally what he's doing. He's holding me here, and I can't punch him in the head. I can't choke him. So what I need to do is make him pay. Lock that hand, bring it in. And then, like I said, I'm not using my back muscles. I'm just turning to my right side. So I'm going to turn to my right hip on that case. If I lock the other hand, I'm just turning to my left hip. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? It's like you think it ain't going to bother you that much until your hand gets stuck. The problem with wrist locks that you want to be careful with your training partners is wrist locks are almost like, you ever see those Facebook videos where like you got like some Russian Systema dude or like some like ancient monk, and there's 6 dudes, they come and they try to attack him and he just touches them, and then all 6 dudes, they spin off like they're in a freaking seizure or something. It's really great. I wish it worked. It's like, man, when I was a kid, I watched Star Wars. I was like, man, I wish the Force worked. I'd throw chi balls at you and knock you over. Sometimes wrist locks feel like that. It's like, man, I don't feel any problems. Is this like a fake move? Like this is one of those chi ball throwing things? And then it's like, oh my God, stop. So it goes from like, I don't feel anything, I think this whole thing might be a gimmick, to oh my God, it hurts so bad, please stop. So, like when somebody taps, like when they tap, like, that means in general, you got the submission, but it wasn't too bad. When your training partner's tapping like this, oh, you got them. You've got their full attention. And that's what wrist locks do. And that's why a lot of times wrist locks are unpopular amongst your training partners, because they'll be like, oh, that's prison rules or stuff, because they freaking hurt, you know. And it's not a gradual discomfort. You know, like an arm bar, you can start to feel it get worse and worse, and you're like, I think it's a good time to tap before my arm breaks. Where wrist locks are like, I think this is chi ball throwing stuff, and then it's like, stop. So it goes from 0 to 100. There's no 50. It's just, I don't feel anything. Oh my God, please stop. So go slow with your training partner. Give them plenty of time to tap. And all you're doing is I'm locking that arm. So like I'm squeezing my biceps, you know, like making a muscle. Bring that elbow in. And then I'm not trying to do this with my arm. I'm just keeping it tight, turning to my side. So it doesn't matter which arm. Lock. Bring it in. Turn to your side. All right, we're going to do that. We'll have our ladies team up over here.